I'm ever in the hospital and in a coma, all they have to do is just play this song, and I'm like, I'm good. Hey, good to be with you. It is your MTV refugee, your peripheral visionary, and your tour guide to the far side. Dez Dickerson back again today, back in for Chad. And I know this is the day when people start to lose focus. A minute ago, Pamela was still on, and some other folks. And, I did it 1 week, and then everybody started doing it. But, they would give me props. They would give proper attribution as to the creator of the segment. But we're bringing back Freakout Friday. Freak out! Yeah, baby. So what better time to bring back Freakout Friday than on a 3-day weekend? You can get your freak on early. So we're bringing that back. So gonna do a few things, but then we're gonna be opening the phone lines and unleashing the hounds, on Freakout Friday. And just to remind you now, and I'll remind you later, here's how it works. You call in and you share one of two things. One, what freaks you out? Could be anything. I told you yesterday, about my younger brother, and we're all old now, but he's still younger than me. Jell-O freaks him out. All you got to do is sneak up on him with a plate of Jell-O and shake it. My man loses it. So, stuff like that. Or, it could be whatever. It doesn't have to be like something weird and pathological, but whatever freaks you out. Okay, the second thing is share with us a time, an incident in your life when you have been freaked out, when something freaked you out. And I shared yesterday that the woman that called in, and this is in the Freakout Friday Hall of Fame. She was driving down the freeway with her kids, and a wasp got in their car. Somehow got in her clothing. So she pulled off to the side of the road. This is on a busy, freeway. And she can't get this wasp out of her clothes. So she starts disrobing at the side of the road to try to, obviously an abject fear of wasps. I'm not a fan of wasps, but I've come to terms. We have an understanding now. So we're going to be doing that. So get ready. Now, first, as we always do whenever I'm in, we're going to take a minute and we're going to stripe the field. Now, understand the hour we're in right now. It's not red versus blue. It's not right versus left. It's not conservative versus liberal. And it's not always strictly right versus wrong anymore. We're living in the age of reality versus unreality. And it's never been more stark a difference in my lifetime, and I've been around for a minute, than it is now. We've gone from different perspectives to different planets, really different solar systems at this point. So now we have a fully established and entrenched cohort on the left. And if they'd had their way, they were thinking, we just need to win one more presidential election and we're in control till the end of time. But they are an entrenched cohort because with their partnership with, people call it the legacy media. I still don't think we've come up with the perfect name, but because it's the one everybody uses, I'll use that one. Their partnership with the legacy media still puts them in a position where, they can just kind of grab the microphone and folks listen to them. Not anybody with a fully functioning brain, but, So we collectively call this entrenched cohort, or tend to call them the woke. That's emerged over the course of the last, year or two. But see, I call it, and I have called it forever, I call it the unreality cohort. The unreality cohort reserves unto itself the right to recreate reality in its own image and redefine every aspect of life, both theirs and yours. They want to control the language of we the people in order to control the people, because that's the way it works. That's why every cult, every despotic regime, what do? They always create their own language. See, the unreality cohort are the tribe of it is if we say it is. No, that's a woman if we say it is. Well, no, dude, that's a dude. Dude may look like a lady, but that's a dude. It is if we say it is. But see, a funny thing happened on the way to their presumed neo-progressive woke takeover. Millions of real Americans rose to their moment, and Donald John Trump was reelected. They did not see that coming. So clarity and common sense made a comeback from the Oval Office on down. They thought they could erase us by marginalizing and naming us, turning every term that referred to us into a pejorative, and they still do that. They talk about, Republicans like they're pedophiles or something. But they were wrong, as they usually are, because here's the thing. Neo-progressivism is actually rooted in a cognitive disorder, which makes it a mental illness. And I'm 100% serious about that. So all that to say, that's why I don't call myself a conservative. Nobody's going to label me. I'm a clear thinker. And every clear thinker adheres to conservative principles. Because if you're clear thinking, it's obvious. But not every self-identified conservative is a clear thinker. And that's why there's a mixed multitude of confusion sometimes on the right. But this is why I'm on a mission to separate the clear thinkers from the Kool-Aid drinkers and to make America think again. Uh-oh.
Let the cartoon begin.
There we go. See, I just broke one of the prime rules. I just finished, I think, like my 4th year of adjunct teaching and just actually wrapped up. But one of the I taught performance. One of the things I would teach is, look, if anything ever goes wrong on stage, never give an indication that there's a problem. Now, see, I just broke the daylights out of that rule right now. I should have just sat, let the drama build, and then we're fine. But at any rate, I'm trying to kind of make it to a certain point on the clock before we break. So let me do this. Let me throw one more tease out for Freakout Friday. It's time to freak out. Freak out. Yeah. So do not hesitate. Now, like in a classroom situation, when you or a keynote, a lecture, whatever, when the speaker calls for Q&A, sometimes there's that uncomfortable silence because nobody comes forward, but there's always one person that goes ahead and gets the party started. So, once the calls start coming in, then everybody's got something. Because come on, everybody does have something that they can bring to the party today. So do not sit back and then later on wish that you had called in. It's Freakout Friday. You can't let that opportunity go to waste. So, okay, I think I'm going to go ahead. Dez Dickerson with you And I'm going to be with you a couple days next week while Chris is on the Outer banking. I'm going to be in, I think, Tuesday and Thursday in his slot, 9 to noon. So mark that down as well. Set an alert on your phone so you don't forget. But we're going to take a break. Dez with you again today, in for Chad. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We're going to be right back. No,
The White House has released a new report on what it believes is causing chronic illness in children. Amazon doling out refunds for purchases issued dating back years. And 5-time Grammy Award winner Billy Joel has canceled all upcoming concerts. We'll tell you why coming up at 12:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
That's right. Building that anticipation. See, I can tell you why Billy Joel canceled all those shows.
You're going to steal my thunder, Brother Dez.
Now, I'm saying that dude's older than me.
Yeah.
I don't know why he's even doing shows. I made a decision several years ago. I'm not leaving the crib anymore.
Yeah, I remember you talked about that.
But he gets to travel in limos and Learjets.
Yeah, he's still going to need a walker to get from side stage to the piano. He needs to get one of those, the villain in movies always has like the self-powered like wheelchair thing.
Yeah.
Just need to get one of those, you know what I mean?
He needs to get something like the Harkonnen in Dune.
Oh, man.
Just float around.
If I could have one of those, I would go back out on the road again. Just to do that. Oh my goodness! So how's the crew doing today? We all okay today?
Doing good, man.
Same here.
Getting ready to take off, see some in-laws over in Charlotte. Then we're gonna do the rest of the week at a cabin we found in Elegy, Georgia.
Wow! Now, what part of Georgia is that in?
Northern Georgia.
Cool.
And this will be my first time in Georgia.
Really?
But I've always known it's beautiful there. Mm-hmm. We just, I don't know, this year for the past couple of years, we've just decided against the beach and decided to head into the mountains.
I love it. Last trip we actually took 2 trips last year to Pigeon Forge. I love it there. It's funny, my son Cannon actually a couple of weeks ago out of nowhere said, Dad, man, I really love Pigeon Forge. And, it's crowded and crazy. It's kind of turned into the, Disney World of the South. But when we got this killer place in the mountains.
Yeah.
I mean, killer. I spent half a year's royalties. But, man, it was awesome. So I'm a mountain guy now.
Yeah, whenever we go that direction, we usually find, like, houses on the outskirts, like in Townsend. Mm-hmm. You can find some good places in Townsend. You're kind of out of the fray,
Oh, yeah.
So
that's a nice town, too.
Yeah, it is. It's a good little town there. So I get it, man. Yeah. You probably, whenever Cannon wants to go into town, you're probably thinking, oh, come on, son. Let's stay out here in the trees, man.
Yeah, let me just sit on this deck.
Yeah.
And peer out into the mountains for a bit, and keep an eye out for bears too.
Yeah. They've had quite a few sightings there the past couple of years.
Yes, they have, and I don't. Even though it's like, well, they're kind of domesticated. I don't want to find out.
Man, I've seen some of the biggest spiders I ever thought existed.
True that.
In Townsend.
Wow.
We ran across what is called a fisher spider.
Now, what is that?
It's a spider that actually it preys on fish.
Whoa, dude.
But I'm telling you, man, this thing is like legs out. It's like the size of a plate.
Oh, man.
And I'll never forget, man, we were 2 days into this cabin, and this thing was really out there in the thick of the mountains. And I had my cell phone light on, and I noticed some little twinkling up above where my wife was sitting. And dude, I didn't say a word. All I said is, hey, how about if we go inside right quick, grab something. And I immediately got after that thing with a broom. And right before it was about to make it underneath our bedroom door, the broom came down on it. Otherwise, had that thing made it in the cabin, we'd have gone and found a hotel.
Hey, something twinkling. Did it have emergency flashers?
It was its eyes.
Oh, man. See, I'm out at that point.
Yeah, that thing was massive. I'll try to dig that picture up, man. I took a picture of it. And whenever it scurried.
Did you put it on Instagram?
I put it on my Facebook years ago. But
if you find it, put it on your Instagram page so everybody can see it.
Yeah, I'll do it. And I mean, man, whenever that thing took off down the side of the wall, it's like it was wearing dress shoes because you could hear it clicking. It was just,
Oh, Lord.
yeah, it creeped me out. And so I looked it up, and it's a fisher spider. They actually prey on fish. They can sit on top of the water, and they will prey on fish.
Jeez.
Huge things.
I've never heard of those, but that's well, I mean, you talk about Freakout Friday.
Yeah.
I see a spider that big, because that's like those Australian spiders. Man.
Yeah.
I mean, those things are the size of like a Subaru.
Yeah.
I do not. Yeah, I do not like big spiders.
Well, everything in Australia is designed to kill you anyway.
That's true. It was a prison colony, so they weren't really concerned about personal safety.
No, they weren't, man.
At the end of the day. So, at any rate, I think, there's a segment I'm going to do before we freak out. And, we're coming up on the break. So, but I do want to say this. Yesterday, there were a couple of big breaking stories that broke so late that I couldn't really go into them. And one of them obviously was the shooting in D.C. and, the anti-Semitic Mexican dude. That's a sign of the times right there. But the other was a plane crash in San Diego that, at first, it comes on and, oh, okay, man, that's wild. There was a plane crash in a residential neighborhood and whatever. But I'm going to be talking about that because there's there's an aspect of it that's actually very personal. So when we come back from the break, I'm going to be talking about that. But you are as you know, you're listening to Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Dez Dickerson in for Chad. We'll be right back.
$12:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast in 5 minutes. Entertainment news. Five-time Grammy Award winner Billy Joel has canceled all upcoming concerts. He's been diagnosed with a brain disorder. A statement posted to his Instagram says the disorder is known as normal pressure hydrocephalus, excess fluid in the brain that leads to problems with hearing, vision, and balance, thinking and reasoning, and bladder control. And he'll be undergoing physical therapy and will be following the advice of his doctor to not perform during this recovery period. The White House raising concerns about chronic illness in children, releasing a new report blaming ultra-processed foods, chemicals in the environment, sedentary behavior, and an over-reliance on digital devices. Also suggests childhood vaccines need to be studied further. FDA Commissioner Marty McCary speaking with ABC News.
Got to look at everything. There can be no sacred cows. You can't say, well, you can't look at this one ingredient or chemical that is introduced in the food supply of children in the United States that does not exist in the food supply of other countries with lower rates of these chronic diseases. We've got to take an objective scientific approach.
Yeah, the report's saying more than 40% of children in the U.S. have at least one chronic disease, such as obesity, diabetes, behavioral issues, and allergies. Got your Amazon refund yet? Reports say some Amazon shoppers will soon be getting long-awaited refunds due to issues with returns in the past. At least one customer's return apparently dating back to 2018. Stephen Pope posting to LinkedIn. He got a refund of nearly $1,800 on May 20th for a TV he had purchased in 2018. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
It's almost time. Not quite, but it's almost time to freak out. So get ready. At the end of this segment, we're going to open up the phone line, so be ready. So, when I was a kid, parents had a saying. And, back then, parents had sayings. I think parents are afraid to say anything now. But anyway, parents had a saying whenever we were, like, swallowing our food whole, like we were sharks or something. They'd say, slow down. You can't even taste your food eating that fast.
And sometimes you didn't want to.
That's true. Mom, I'm eating this fast because it's really nasty. And I'm holding my nose and closing my eyes. But slow down. You can't even taste your food. Well, it occurred to me that we become that way in our consumption of news and information, that we take it in so fast that we don't even taste it. We don't get nuance or detail. We don't get context or big picture. We just kind of, plug our noses and gulp it down. There was a story yesterday, though, that struck me as an example of how we eat without chewing. And we miss the taste. And that was the plane crash that I referenced in San Diego. Now, last night I got a text from my oldest son. I have two sons. I talked about Cannon, he's 11, but my oldest son, Jordan, is, 38, married, have our two grandchildren. We let him keep them and take care of them. But we got a granddaughter named Palmer, who's 4, and a grandson named Bowen, who's 1. And so anyway, they live in Arizona, and he's obviously a grown man. He had a music career from an early age. He actually, went into the studio to start his first album at 10 years old. He was the leader of this tweener pop punk band. Now, back then, we didn't have the term tweener yet, but that's what they were. They were 10, 11, and 12. And they were recording and touring, at that age. And they were in teen magazines, got some old tear sheets somewhere with them on a page with Britney and Josh Hartnett when he was still a teenage heartthrob. So, he was literally on the road doing, headline shows. They did a bunch of festivals and really causing riots. It was the first time I'd ever seen a band play a festival stage. And as soon as they were done, the entire audience sprinted to the merch table. Never seen that in my life. But the tweener thing gave way to burnout by the time he was like 15. And so he wanted to take a break to just be a kid, play high school football. And, now he immediately started working on putting another band together. He didn't walk away from it completely. And, in short time, the new band materialized, and his enthusiasm came back with it. He called his band Lenny, by the way, after the bass player in the movie That Thing You Do. I love the obscurity of the reference. But the emergence of the band coincided with this burgeoning new scene that was literally called The Scene. And, they not only had the guys and the talent and the music, but because of the timing of it, they also had a tribe. So after high school, Jordan wanted to drive this thing literally full time. And after doing a year at Vandy, he took a gap year and hit the road with the boys. So, they opened for major label acts and headline shows here in town and elsewhere, and did the, 4 guys in a van that is taking on a smell not common to mankind, that thing. Because that is definitely what happens. You got 4 guys in their late teens on their own in a van. And it's like, don't light any matches because the van will blow up. That's what'll happen. So he texted me last night to tell me about some folks from the scene that were in that plane crash yesterday. Now, I like everybody else, I heard it all day, and I just heard plane crash, you know, small business jet, residential neighborhood, and the focus was on, you know, the miracle that nobody got hurt on the ground and, you know, jet fuel running down the streets and the inferno. That was what the emphasis of the stories that were out there were. But as my son expounded, the light came on. And I realized that the faceless plane crash that I never fully chewed before I swallowed it involved people and names and a time of great significance to my son and great familiarity to me, because at that time he and I partnered in an indie record label. He came to me actually with a business plan and the whole bit. So, you know, we were partners in their label and our office managed their band. But I actually loved that whole like period in music and loved the scene and the scene bands. So these were people from a significant time in my son's life who were figures in the scene that had shaped his late teens and early 20s. So that plane crash impacted him in this very visceral and very personal way. Not just news stuff, but real life, you know, and real people crashed in that plane. And for several, they died on that plane. So this morning, you know, woke up early as always, and I knew I needed to talk about this today before we do our Freakout Friday. So I hit the interweb, you know, and searched for articles and, you know, to find a story that brought life and context to it. And I scrolled and saw mainly, you know, unchewed food and generic headlines. I finally found a couple of pieces that talked about the people and the notable past. And I didn't fast forward to get to the jet fuel and the houses on the ground. So I'm going to read a little bit of an article, you know, the good article that I did manage to find. And I did, you know, I found a couple of them at the end of the day. But headline, Dave Shapiro, music agent and sound talent group owner, killed in San Diego plane crash at 42. Talent agent and sound talent group owner Dave Shapiro was among those killed in a fiery plane crash in San Diego, California in the early morning hours on Thursday, May 22nd, according to a statement from his agency. We are devastated by the loss of our co-founder, colleagues, and friends, said a spokesperson for Sound Talent Group. Our hearts go out to their families and to everyone impacted by today's tragedy. Thank you so much for respecting their privacy at this time. Shapiro and 2 other STG employees were killed when their 1985 Cessna Citation, 85 is not old for a plane if it's well maintained, but, you know, it's old. It's about as old as Air Force One. Reportedly crashed at about 4 a.m. on Thursday, the 22nd, in the Terra Santa neighborhood of San Diego. Billboard is not naming the 2 other victims at this time at the request of company officials who are trying to notify family members. So this was one of the first stories out. The plane was also carrying other passengers who have not been identified. Officials tell Billboard, noting that there were no survivors. Now, since then, they've announced one of the people that was killed was the drummer from a band called The Devil Loves Prada, which, you know, that was one of our scene favorites. Yeah, kind of metalcore. People refer to it. I saw an article where they referred to as a metal band. They're not a metal band. Judas Priest is a metal band. But anyway, they've since announced more of the the casualties. So a well-known music agent, Shapiro launched STG in 2018 with Tim Burwer and Matt Anderson following successful careers at the agency group. And, Lenny worked with the agency group for a while, and United Talent Agency. His roster included Sum 41, great band, Pierce the Veil, I Prevail, Set It Off, Story of the Year, my favorite band from that whole era, Silverstein, Parkway Drive, and Eve 6. They had a hit for a minute. He also operates the Velocity Records music label, whose roster included Thursday, Concrete Castles, and Craig Owens. I'm not familiar with them. Shapiro was also an avid pilot with more than a decade of flying experience and the owner of Velocity Aviation. Known around the music industry as an adventurous spirit, Shapiro's aviation website describes his thrill-seeking lifestyle in pursuit of adrenaline. And he was actually flying the plane that came out. So from base jumping to acrobatic flying, helicopters to twin engines, flight instructing to furthering his own education, didn't matter to Dave as long as he got to be in the sky. So Shapiro even housed the San Diego office of STG in an airplane hangar alongside some of his planes. So besides aviation, Shapiro was a lifelong supporter of independent music and hard rock, punk, and indie acts that didn't fit within the music business's mainstream. With the launch of STG, he and his partners paved the way for the launch of a nearly dozen independent agencies in the years that followed. So there's the context. These were real people. And, people that in that little slice of the music business that my son and I both knew well and loved, I mean, they were pivotal. They were scene makers, and literally. So this whole thing and this brief text exchange between my son and I, it was a real moment that may have in its own way impacted me as much as it did him. Like, when you first take food out of the microwave, it keeps cooking on the inside. Since our conversation last night, this thing has continued to cook on the inside of me. I hope I keep this moment and don't just go back to biz as usual, just, eating like a shark and not chewing. I hope I don't lose the heart of the matter and that I slow down, that I chew my food from now on, because it's an occupational hazard. Because we're spitting out stories and we're looking for the next bit of breaking news, and it can just turn into stuff. But, behind every story, there are people, there are lives, there are families, and it's more than just stuff. So, again, condolences to the families and the folks that lost their lives, and long live the scene. We're going to take a break right now, and when we come back, we're going to open up the phone lines, and it's time for us to get our freak on. Dez Dickerson, WTN 99.7 Super Talk. We're going to be right back.
Knife attack in Germany. The White House has released a new report on what it believes is causing chronic illness in children. Amazon's doling out refunds dating back years. And we've got an update on 5-time Grammy Award winner Billy Joel, who has canceled all upcoming concerts. These stories and more coming up at 1 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Well, right now I'm freaking out because you guys are slacking. Now here's the thing. I'm aware of the fact that Chad doesn't really take calls. I mean, his thing is just kind of doing his thing. And, so those of you who listen in this hour or these 3 hours are not necessarily habituated to calling in, but you need to break through. Don't put me in some, Alec Baldwin trick bag. Have you ever heard that clip? He hosted on radio and the whole idea, the whole show was supposed to be about him taking calls, but people didn't call. I'm also going to say this: no fair using the super text line. You got to call in. Don't text in your freak out. You got to call because that's the dynamic that drives this thing.
And if they need the number, it's 615-737-9986.
Thank you, because I always forget that. I mean, I always forget that. In fact, let me...
That might help.
I know. I want you to call in. Google it. Find the number. Dadgummit. So anyway, enough said on that. Now, I see we got our first call in. Now, it's like I said, somebody always kind of pulls the cork, and then folks start flowing after that. So, I was talking earlier about my eyesight, and since the last time I was in, I can't read the writing on the phone. So whoever it is we have, Bell, who do we have?
We got Bailey on line 1.
Bailey, come on in. And you know what? We should give you some kind of door prize for being the first call. So come on in, and what do you got for us? What is your freak out today?
Hey, man, I'm freaking out because it's my birthday today.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I turned 29 today. Woohoo!
29. So you got to do something special. I have socks that are 29 years old, but
Thanks, man. I'm shocked too.
So you got to do something special for your birthday here today?
Yeah, dude. All right. So yesterday was my mom's birthday. My mom's the one who got me onto 99.7. I'm from the Phil Valentine era.
Oh yeah.
And so she's right here next to me. Give my mama a shout out.
Hey, well, Mama's gonna have to share a freak out too. But I gotta tell you, Uncle Phil is the reason I'm doing talk radio now. He and I were good friends, and it was a weird thing because he would have Johnny B call me and say, "Hey, Phil wants to talk to you, some specific topic or whatever." But I would call in and talk all the time, and he would tell me, "Man, you need to do talk radio. You'd be great at this." And I just kind of dragged my feet and whatever. And then Phil passed away, and but the opportunity came. So we're going to hold you through the break. That music means that we got to stick a pin in it for a minute, hit the pause button. But I want to hear both your freakouts when we get back. All right?
For real.
All right.
Yeah, we got you.
All right. Super Talk. We'll be back.
1 o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast coming up in 5 minutes and some breaking news overseas. 12 people injured in a knife attack at the main railway station in the German city of Hamburg. Local media reports 3 of the victims are in critical condition, 3 others seriously injured. Police say they've arrested a suspect. Major operation underway there in Hamburg, Germany. Entertainment news, Billy Joel is canceling all scheduled concerts because of a brain disorder.
Billy Joel says in an online post he's dealing with what's called normal pressure hydrocephalus, and the recent concerts have made it even worse with his hearing, vision, and balance. That condition is when excess fluid accumulates in the brain.
He says, son, can you play me a memory?
Billy Joel saying he is undergoing physical therapy, and doctors have told him to stop performing during treatment. Ticket holders for his concerts will automatically be refunded their money. Alex Stone, ABC News.
Now, the White House raising concerns about chronic illness in children, releasing a new report blaming ultra-processed foods, chemicals in the environment, sedentary behavior, and over-reliance on digital devices. Also suggests childhood vaccines need to be studied further. This is FDA Commissioner Dr. Marty Makary.
Microplastics and circadian rhythms and light and mood and sleep and devices and addiction to these devices and pesticides and the fact that 70% of the food that kids eat today is ultra processed. We never once talked about any of this stuff in medical school, and this report brings it to the forefront of our health conversation.
Yeah, called the Make America Healthy Again report, saying more than 40% of children in the U.S. have at least one chronic disease, such as obesity, diabetes, behavioral issues, and allergies. Got your Amazon refund yet? Reports say some Amazon shoppers will soon be getting long-awaited refunds due to issues with returns in the past. At least one customer's return apparently dated back to 2018 for an $1,800 TV. Amazon released a statement saying there is no action required from customers to receive the refunds. They say they have fixed the payment issue and made process changes to more promptly contact customers about unresolved returns going forward. Ever have one of those nights where you sleep right through a really loud thunderstorm? It was kind of like that for a man from Norway. Kinda, but not quite, says ABC Sheriff Preston.
Johan Heldberg woke up recently to find a giant cargo ship had run aground and very narrowly missed crashing right into his home. That didn't wake him up. A frantic neighbor ringing his doorbell did. Pictures show the ship's bow just a few yards from Heldberg's house in coastal Norway, but the only apparent damage was to a heating pump wire. There weren't any injuries on the ship and no oil spills. There is, however, a suspect in mind who police think may have caused the very near collision. Sherry Preston, ABC News.
That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
thunderstruck on a Freakout Friday. And we got Bailey and his mom. So we got a twofer going here. So now tell me, is it something that freaks you out or a freak out from your past? What do you got? Now, Bailey, if you want to win points, you need to let mom go first.
All right, I'm letting Mom go first. Her name is Mom.
That's what I always call my mom.
Mary.
Your name is what?
Mary.
Mary?
Mary. Yeah.
Marin.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So there are so many things I could say, but the only one that I could think of that I don't think anybody will be able to match was that I used to teach school, and my last day of teaching, I was walking through the crosswalk to my car, and I was hit by a school bus.
Oh, my goodness.
So, safest place on the planet should be a school crosswalk, but it wasn't. But it left me disabled for a couple of years,
Jeez.
and then I just reinvented myself. So it wasn't too much of a freak out.
So what were the injuries?
I mean,
you had disabilities. What were your injuries?
I broke my pelvis in 3 places,
Jeez.
broke my hips, broke the C7 in my neck, broke one of my knees, broke one of my fingers, 9 ribs front and back in multiple places. So, yeah, it was intense.
My goodness. I mean, that was a freak occurrence. That was more than a freak out. Wow. Yeah, I don't think anybody's going to top that, but but I tell you what, we're going to get Bailey's, and then I want to come back because if you got more than one, I want to hear another one. But Bailey, what do you have, my friend?
Man, I was like really freaked out when my mom got like injured and stuff. So I don't know. I think maybe that was like a big one. I would like to say like I'm a billboard climber, like getting high, climbing boards and stuff. But that's super dangerous, and I'm trying to leave that part of my life. So maybe I'm not freaked out of anything. I just want to not be freaked out of everybody else in my life getting injured or whatever.
Well, you're gonna have to let that go. Because,
Yeah, true. I guess that's go. Part of life, huh?
You got to let go and let God on that. But you're a billboard climber?
Yeah, man. Yeah, I'm a billboard installer. So, like, I change all the vinyls everywhere on 40, all the way to Knoxville. I've touched, like, every single board you see.
Wow. See,
yeah,
heights freak me out. So I would not be doing your job.
Heights are fun. That's where like the vultures hang out and stuff. It's kind of gross. But I love it. It's a part of life, or it's an area of space that majority of people won't see. I'd say like over 99% would not see that their entire life. So. I take it as a blessing every single day that I'm able to actually climb. So yeah.
See, I'm always grateful when I come across people that do something that I would never do. The fact that God puts in the hearts of people all sorts of different people, all sorts of different things, but climbing on billboards for me is not one of them. So before we move on to Johnny and Franklin, I want to hear one more from Marion here, because I have a feeling anybody that's been hit by a bus has to have something else.
I do. Well, I'm going to cheat, and I'm going to share two. One, I was giving platelets one time, and I ended up in the emergency room because I ended up having, they didn't call it a seizure, but it sure felt like a seizure to me.
Jeez.
And so my oldest son said, yeah, no good deed goes unpunished. But the other one I wanted to share is right now I'm a little bit freaked out because I'm on my way. As Bailey said, my birthday's today, his birthday's today, mine was yesterday. I am literally on my way to a trip that I have no idea where we're going. We plugged the address into the car, but I trust my family, and they wanted it to be a surprise, so literally I won't know where we're going until we get there.
God bless you, because I don't like surprises. You know what I mean? You better tell me where we're going.
I didn't used to. They said pack a bathing suit, and that's all I know.
So we know there's water involved. That's the one. The one
but
clue
I know it's not the beach. I know it's not the beach because we'll be there too soon to be at the beach. So it probably involves the lake. But I'm okay with that. I'm cool.
Well.
And I'm going to say one more thing.
Yeah, go for it.
Should never let me have a mic.
That's all right. They should never let me have a mic either, but I got one.
My kids grew up listening to WTN, and I went and saw Purple Rain so many times they stopped charging me. And I dressed like Prince, and I would show up and they would just let me pass through. So anyway, so I love you too, and I'm so glad that Bailey won't tell you this. You were congratulating him for being the first caller. He must have bullet dialed 20 times.
Well, I'm glad he did, because that's what it takes. Because, folks will sit back, and then, like I said, tomorrow afternoon they'll be going, oh, man, I could have done. So kudos to Bailey.
You have my phone number? Holler at me.
All right. I'll do that. We'll hang out. All right. Well, happy birthday to both of you. And enjoy, the mystery trip wherever it ends up taking you, and we'll talk again sometime. All right, we got Johnny in Franklin. Johnny, how you doing?
Hey, this is Tony. How about this
well,
today?
it said Johnny. See, I actually pulled the phone closer so I could see it, and so
I got the name wrong.
Well, there you go. But at least Bell owned it, though.
Well, it was Bell K. You gotta forgive me. So
I depend on him. So
really, well, I appreciate him a whole lot. It's always a good day listening to WTN.
Awesome. So what do you got?
But well, I got to tell you, it really freaked me out when you first started doing relief shifts there at WTN. I thought you were like in your late 20s, early 30s. And then yesterday I was just driving around doing my job, and I was listening to you talk, and I said, he's my age. and I'm no spring chicken, but we're making it happen every day, as they say. So
that's right.
That really just, I'm 63. So, I mean.
Dude, I'm older than you.
Well, see there. Now I'm freaked out again.
See, I'm a firm. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead, sir.
I was just going to say I'm a firm believer that age ain't nothing but a number. And,
well, yeah.
At the end of the day, it's about thinking an age rather than, I'm 69 years old, so that means I should be, well, no. You should be who you be, and don't worry about how old you are.
Yeah, but don't go climbing billboards.
No, that's not going to happen.
That's not going to happen for me either. It's not the height so much as the sudden fall that I'm afraid of more than anything.
The sudden fall with the abrupt stop. That's what I'm not doing. So what's your freak out? Tell us what your freak out is.
Well, yeah, just to find out that you're the age you are. Yes, I thought you was in your 20s or so. Really?
I feel at times like I'm in my 20s, but then my body will remind me that I'm not. But it's about your mind. See,
yes,
I also come from a family of people that live to be really old, but you would just never know it. They're sharp. I mean, everybody in my family on my both sides really. They all lived well into their 90s. Actually, my mom is still with us. She just had her 90th birthday. And so I have an expectation. that, I'm going to dance with my granddaughter at her wedding. And, I'm going to be around for a minute. I'm not going anywhere.
I have no plans to go anywhere. I'm looking forward to seeing Jesus, but he'll wait for later. He'll wait on me.
He'll be there. He's going to be around. So
he'll be around. But you have a great day. I enjoy your filling in, and I enjoy Bell K and Ken Weaver and all of you guys.
It's a great crew. I love being here, and thanks for calling in, my friend.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, we got Carl. Carl has joined the fray.
It's Earl.
I got to move the phone closer. I'm just going to pick it up and put it right next to my face so I can read it. But Earl, it's Earl. It reminds me of one of my favorite shows that used to be on called My Name is Earl. Ever see that?
Never seen it.
It was a great show.
I'm not a big TV fan.
Well, if you're ever going to be a TV fan, that's a show to watch because it was awesome. So, Earl, how you doing?
I'm doing good, sir. You?
I am just happy as a pig in slop because I'm doing what I am. So,
I got one for you.
All right, let's hear it.
I was in the military for 10.5 years.
You what?
I was in the military for 10.5 years.
Wow.
But we were doing a night jump. And when I jumped, everything was fine and dandy. But when at a night jump, you got to turn when you look at the tree line, you turn toward the tree line to land. And when I pulled on my toggle line to turn into the face of the tree line, because it was night, I didn't sit in my toggle line. It was across the top of my canopy, and semi collapsed on me. You don't bounce.
Not like Bumbles, you don't bounce.
Yeah, that kind of freaked me out.
Yeah. So did you get injured at all, or what went down?
Busted my leg in two places. I was in tracking for a little bit, but it all turned out good.
Whew. Man, see, for me, it's not up there with climbing billboards, but it is up there. I'm not doing any parachute thing ever. And I thank you for your service, and I'm glad somebody does it. But,
you're welcome. Y'all have a great weekend.
All right, you too. We've had some good ones already. We've had some real good ones. So, there, as they say, we have lines open. So, no waiting on aisle 2. But see, this is what Freakout Friday is about, though. And man, getting hit by a bus. I mean, your parachute collapsing. I mean, these are, this is not. I'm afraid of Jell-O. Although that's still one of my favorites because that one's hilarious. But tell you what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead. We're going to move to our break. It's Freakout Friday. So jump on in. Share with us what freaks you out or what freakout experience or experiences you have had in the past. So 99.7 WTN, Dez Dickerson in for Chad today, and we will be back momentarily.
Knife attack at a busy train station. Grammy award-winning artist diagnosed with a brain disorder must cancel all upcoming shows. And Amazon doling out refunds for returns from years ago. We'll tell you about these stories and more at 1:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It's time to freak out. Somebody freaked out. Somebody was on hold and freaked out and hung up. So, the knife attack stories, which always take place in places where, guns have been banned. I mean, pretty soon, they'll have to ban knives, and then, we'll hear about spork attacks.
Yeah, we'll just need a little bit of common sense knife control, and then it'll be some common sense spoon control, and then you'll have to start walking around the city where you live in handcuffs because somebody else beat somebody up somewhere in the world.
And there'll be red flag laws for plastic cutlery or something. I don't know. But I want to say this, whoever it was, it was Frank. I saw the name. It was Frank. Frank, holler back. Holler back, dude. We were just about to get to your call. So, don't get cold feet now. There's one that I have that I can share. I'm trying to, keep it in my back pocket here in the event that we need to use it. And right now, it's looking like the event is looming. But, I got to say this. When we started Freakout Friday, it was a couple of years ago now. I mean, it instantly became so popular that, the phone lines were jammed. Because, people couldn't wait to share their freakouts. And there's a lot of freaky stuff that a lot of freaky people have experienced. So my expectation today was that it would be the same as it ever was. And, we would have that same kind of response. So as a result, I prepared one segment. I wanted to leave plenty of time for calls. And, I'm going to be up here talking about, the Timberwolves getting smashed again last night. If it comes
615-737-9986.
Thank you, because I was thinking during the commercials. I was thinking during the break. Repeat the phone number. Repeat the phone number. So, Bel K again.
For the numerically challenged, that's 615-737-WWTN.
Well, there you go. And that, you know what? That's one thing. It doesn't freak me out, but it is a pet peeve of mine. When you're listening to a commercial and it's something that actually piques my interest. And then they give you the phone number in letters. It's 1-800, eat more fish. So now I got to go look at the phone. I got to correlate the numbers to the letter. I hate that. So it's not a freak out, but it is a pet peeve. And we may have to have Pet Peeve Friday at some point. So here's what we're going to do. We got Charles. Charles is called in, and we're going to see what Charles is in Nashville. See, I'd be freaked out living in Nashville. Dude, that's why I moved further out. I moved to Columbia because Nashville was freaking me out. But at any rate, Charles, how you doing?
I'm doing good.
Good deal.
I was in our warehouse working on light and fell 16 feet. I crushed my hip, broke my back, and fractured my skull.
Oh, my goodness.
I was in Vanderbilt for 2 weeks. Don't remember it.
Whew. Well, my son was in Vanderbilt for 4 years and doesn't remember it. So,
and I now can walk, throw my legs up, and catch my hand with it.
Wow.
I'm still working. I'm 73 years old and still working for the same company.
Wow. Well, two things. Number one, somebody older than me actually called in. So I'm feeling good about that. And the other thing is, how long ago was this?
It was 18 years ago, and I only missed 6 months of work.
Jeez. You know, there's an interesting thread flowing through today's freakouts. They're all life-threatening events so far.
Yeah, I'm blessed that I'm still alive.
Man,
and,
amen.
I went from a wheelchair to walking, and I carry a 45-pound toolkit on my back when I'm doing my job.
Jeez. I can't do that now for any reason whatsoever. So, man, that's awesome.
Yeah.
God bless you.
And I lost my taste for 6 months. Nothing had a taste for 6 months.
Wow. So there was like a brain injury component with the skull fracture that.
Yeah.
Wow. Man, that is.
But and also they had me, because of my broken back, they had me in what they called a turtle shell.
Now, what is that?
It's a plastic thing. It's molded to your body that's like Velcroed, where you can't bend forward, you can't turn sideways or nothing.
Jeez. Wow. That's an amazing story and an amazing recovery. Well, Charles, thanks for calling in. Thanks for sharing with us, and God bless you, man. So we're up against a break. We got Rick in Nashville holding. Rick, hang in there. Don't do like Frank did and bail on us just when we're about to go to his call. But you're listening to Dez Dickerson filling in for Chad on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Don't you go away.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Drivers, we've got a crash. It is 65 southbound at Rosa Parks Boulevard over there on the North Loop. That is going southbound, North Loop around downtown going southbound. Full forecast coming up in 5 minutes. 12 people injured in a knife attack at a railway station in Hamburg, Germany today. Some of those injured have critical injuries. Police say a suspect has been arrested. They've not released any information about the suspect. Entertainment news. Billy Joel canceling all scheduled concerts after announcing in an online post that he's dealing with a brain disorder called normal pressure hydrocephalus, saying recent concerts have made it even worse with his hearing, vision, and balance, and that condition is when excess fluid accumulates in the brain. He'll undergo physical therapy and expected to make a full recovery. The White House raising concerns about chronic illnesses in children, releasing a new report blaming ultra-processed foods, chemicals in the environment, sedentary behavior, and an over-reliance on digital devices. It also suggests childhood vaccines need to be studied further. FDA Commissioner Dr. Marty McCary speaking with ABC News.
The NIH will be prioritizing funding to look at many of these root causes.
This Make America Healthy Again report claims more than 40% of children in the U.S. have at least one chronic disease, such as obesity, diabetes, behavioral issues, and allergies. Money news, if you are still waiting for that refund from Amazon, your wait may be over soon. A company doling out refunds for returns from years ago. The decision comes amid a class action lawsuit filed over the issue, and a judge declined to dismiss it last month. Amazon says they've identified returns where a refund was issued without the payment completing, or where they could not verify that the correct item had been sent back, so no refund was issued. At least one customer's return, apparently dated back to 2018, came in an $1,800 check for a TV that person had purchased. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Yeah, you heard right. It's the return of Freakout Friday on a Memorial Day weekend. Doesn't get better than that. We got Rick in Nashville. I want to commend Rick for being a proper caller and holding through the commercials and, because that's the way you're supposed to do it. That's proper call-in protocol. Once you've called in, you hold until we pick up. Because I'm thinking we're going to need to start, getting people's driver's licenses and holding them because, you got to hang in there. So Rick, how you doing?
Hey, doing all right. Had to pull over here just to be sure I could get all this out and everything. I heard you yesterday talk about this segment on the show, and yesterday I started thinking to myself, I was like, oh, that sounds fun. What's something that freaks me out? And then I got into a really weird headspace because it dawned on me exactly what my an issue is for me. But just kind of, I've been sitting here on hold and everything, heart beating through my chest. And I figured, all right, how do I even start with this? But held on because, maybe talking about it might be something that could get off my chest and everything, maybe help me out in the long run. But
it'd be free therapy. You never know.
Well, yeah, I've been told I need it. So basically the thing that freaks me out the most is now black lipstick.
Oh,
I know that maybe sounds strange, but where that stems from is about 2 years ago, my mother had severe cancer, and we lost her within about 3 months of diagnosis.
Oh, no.
And I was in the room at the time. I mean, I'm glad I was there and everything, and our whole family was around. And I remember the moment she passed, my whole family works in medicine and everything, and someone had made the comment of, I can't even recall the term at the time, but basically the color around her mouth had darkened a little bit, and I don't think it was quite actually black, but just kind of a bluish, grayish kind of coloring. And ever since then now, if I walk in anywhere or see it or even think about it, and part of the reason I pull over now and everything is just to be sure I don't have an issue now, but you get right back. Something transports me right back into that room. I can smell the room. I can see the hospital. I can hear everything going on. And it's just, it's for me, hopefully this will be something that I really don't talk about it at all. But I guess it's just like a traumatic experience like that. And it's one of the triggers that sends me right back into all that situation. And part of the issue too is at the time, my father wasn't doing very well with health. He's doing great now, but he took it extremely hard, losing my mom and everything. So I kind of went into survival mode, being sure he's all set. Everyone else in the family is taken care of and everything, and never really processed it on my own yet or had the opportunity. And that was about 2 years ago now at this time. So, yeah, it's just one of those things that just absolutely freaks me out. And it's almost like in one eye, I can see everything inside that room again.
Man,
while able to see around. It's like a daydream, and it just takes over the whole full vision. So, but yeah.
Well, to lose somebody that quickly, I mean,
it
that
came out
in
of
and of
nowhere.
itself. So she hadn't had any health problems. So how'd they end up diagnosing it?
Well, basically, she had started off. Really, it was kind of the tail end of COVID. So they kept pushing back. Doctors were pushing back because they had to reschedule everybody. And she had a slight bit of ulcerative colitis, which then at one point they're like, well, there's some thickening of the colon wall, and but everything looks okay. And then later on, she started having severe abdominal pain, and it had what ended up happening was within a very short time that had turned into colon cancer, with immediately spread to the liver and bones.
Oh man!
So, and the bad part too was she had started on some kind of new treatment they were trying. It was we had just gotten word that the cancer is non-detectable, and they were looking at doing a colon resection and everything, and then removing the part of the liver to get everything going. That was the word we got, and then within a week of that happening, it had quadrupled in its original size.
Wow!
Just the stuff that survived the initial treatments, but
man,
yeah. So it kind of was like this came out of nowhere, and then it's like, oh, we have some hope and everything, and then we were with her the whole way and everything. She did great, but ultimately it came back with such a a force. But
man, and doctors,
yeah.
They're doctors because they want to heal and help. But the thing I always remind people is never forget they're practicing medicine. They're practicing because they haven't perfected it yet.
Well, the doctor she had, they did an amazing job. Everybody at the hospital, absolutely amazing. I don't hold anything against them for that or anything like that. I mean, they did a fantastic job and really kept her spirits, going and high and everything. But yeah, I mean, life happens.
Yeah,
so.
Well, it does. Well, man, thank you so much for your call, and God bless you. And my prayer for you is that this whole thing breaks, that you get through it and you can go to a punk rock club full of girls in black lipstick and not be bothered by it. So
Right. Well, I
right.
appreciate it. We'll get through Halloween this year. It'll be fun.
Absolutely. Well, man, thanks so much for calling.
So much.
Thank you. Have a good one. Emma, we got Emma in Brentwood. Emma in Brentwood. What's up, Emma? I hear a lot of white noise. Well, she just hung up. That's funny because we had two people holding that just hung up. We are going to have to start taking people's driver's licenses, I think, because, and this, I tell you the other thing. This has never happened on a Freakout Friday. I've seen people hold for 20 minutes to share their freakout. So that's bizarre. Now, a lot more people are talking on the phone while they're driving these days. And I think that, there's a higher occurrence of people hanging up because, we're much more conscious. Those scary commercials and everything about, about dying because we're on the phone. But at any rate, let's see. Let me move this phone closer to my face. We got Anna. Anna's calling in. And Anna, where are you calling from?
Well, I'm calling from Brentwood because I didn't hang up on you. Something happened with your phone. I think your phone may be going wonky today.
Well, you know what? You can blame that on Bell.
No, I'm not blaming. I'm just saying I was right here. Well, but bless the man who called. And I went through a trauma like that with my father. And yes. Well, mine just is sort of trivial, and it's a funny thing, and I've never heard this before, so I don't know if you'll enjoy mine because it's more enjoyable.
Well, that's good because it's been heavy so far.
Well, definitely, because it's trivial and it's fun and it's silly. I was trained, became a flight attendant with a major airline, and of course, you're trained to.
Uh-oh.
So that first Christmas, I was flying with a beautiful young woman who is Miss Minnesota, and we had to lay over in Orlando, Florida. Well, the people at Disney Park were working, and they said, we're going to go get those flight attendants, and we're going to treat them to a day at the park. So we're at Disneyland on Christmas Day with my family, and they said, hey, we got this ride that we're working on. Would you like to try it? We need people to try it. So, we're 20 and go, yeah, of course. Well, you're going to know I'm not young. It was Space Mountain.
Yeah, that was
okay.
What, like 1958? What was that?
Oh, stop it. 1973 or 4.
Oh, well, that's good. Those were very good years.
So, okay, they take us, you get on this thing, you go all the way to the top of this thing, and I get in the front seat part of it, and she gets in the seat behind me, and you have to realize we're trained to save you in case of an airplane crash. We just graduated, so rah! They lock us in there, and all of a sudden we were hurling through a totally black space, going in all directions with all kinds of things splashing blood. She said, oh, God, we're dying at Christmas. I have to tell you, I still have fingernail marks in my shoulder from her holding on to it because we had no idea that it was doing what it's supposed to when it had gone wrong because it was wild and crazy.
Wow. Well, I mean, Space Mountain is essentially a roller coaster ride in the dark.
In the dark. And when they tell you this is not approved yet, would you like to try it as a test rider? You know, you're not going to be covered by insurance. You're just, we need a suit anyway. But that was a memorable Christmas experience. I don't remember anything else about that whole day or being there at all, but the feeling of falling through utter darkness in a piece of metal that's flying, and you don't know if it's supposed to be doing what it's doing or not.
Wow.
But I did survive.
That sounds like it was, terrifying but fun. And here's the thing. If somebody comes to you and says, hey, we need lab rats for this new ride, and it's not approved yet, run. Just run.
Oh, yes. Yes, and those medical drug tests now, it's like, oh, well, maybe not.
I'm just going to go through the thing that says I'm tall enough, and that's good for me. I'm good. Well, thank you so much for your call. Thanks for persevering, and I apologize for the technical difficulties on our end. But
it's okay, but it's good to hear you. I'm usually at work at this point in the day, so it's nice to hear you.
Well, it's good to be heard. I'm doing what I love to do. Doesn't get better than that. All right. So we got a couple minutes before we got a break. We're going to talk to, is it Elena? Tell me how you pronounce your name. Hey, how you doing?
It's Delana with a D.
Delana. Okay, well, we dropped the D. Kind of like, the way they tune guitars these days. Drop D. And you're in Chapel Hill?
Yes. It's ironic that she just called about a ride because mine is a childhood story about being on a ride. And I'm scared of heights now because of it.
Oh no!
When I was a child, my parents, we always had foster children who lived with us, and I had so many that came in and out of the home. But I definitely remember this girl. Her name was Denise, and she lived with us for several months. But my parents took us one summer to, I don't think it's there anymore, but I believe it was just called Paducah Park in Paducah, Kentucky, and it's small, like, amusement park.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, my parents kept an eye on us. We were never allowed out of their sight. But we got on this ride and rode it. It was so much fun, so we wanted to go again. It wasn't like, big parks where you had to stand in line over and over.
Right.
So when we finished, the guy, we told him we wanted to ride again. He said, okay, so we just stayed on. And back up to the top of the ride, and I think he forgot we were on it. We were the only. He rides down and he took off. Like, I guess he went to eat or something. I don't know. But my parents had walked away to ride.
You're breaking up a little bit, so I'm having to kind of extrapolate.
Okay.
In the gap.
So, okay. I'm sorry. This is Chapel Hill.
I understand.
Chapel Hill.
I understand.
So we're at the very top of the ride. It is summer. It is burning hot. We're yelling for people walking by, and people are looking around for us. They hear us, but they don't see us because we're at the top of this ride.
Oh, gosh.
All of a sudden, bees start swarming around us. It's hot. We got bees. You can see us. We're yelling. Finally, walking around on the ground, and we're together.
Yeah, we're losing you here. We have now, after the bees, we've broken up. But hey, thanks for calling in, and we're kind of into a break at this point. But I tell you what, we got Darlene, we got Jasper, we got Forrest, and we got another call coming in. So everybody, as parents used to say, I'm remembering things parents used to say, hold your water, because we want to hear your freakouts. We'll be right back. Super Talk 99.7. Be right back.
12 people stabbed, some with critical injuries, and a woman is the suspect. President Trump signing executive orders making it faster to build nuclear energy plants. A Carnival cruise ship to the rescue, 4 people and their dogs. On the heels of announcing increased prices, the nation's largest retailers laying people off. And a Grammy Award-winning artist has to cancel his tour. These stories and more at 2 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Wow, it was a woman that stabbed all those people.
That's what police are saying.
I'm not touching this one with a 10-foot pole, y'all. But that's wild. So we're going to try to get another call or two in before we get to the top of the hour. But, we're rolling now. So we got Forrest, been holding in Mount Juliet. Forrest.
Yeah.
So how you doing today?
Well, pretty good.
Tell us what you got.
Got 2 freaks. 2 things that freak me out.
Let's hear it.
One is oyster stew.
Yeah, I don't like that either.
I was introduced to that as a teenager, and you know how you put something up to your nose, smell it before you eat it, and you know it ain't going to be good. And when you take it, it's 10 times worse than the smell.
Yeah, I know that.
Well, to this day, I run when I hear the words oyster stew, but that's one thing. And the other is twice. I'm 64.
Just
twice,
a kid.
over a span of 20 years, somehow or another, I've ended up with snakes in my floorboard as I'm going down the street.
Oh, my goodness.
In my first truck, I was young, and it was just an old jalopy, and it had a hole in the floorboard over on the passenger side, and I pretty much knew how it got in, and it wasn't a big snake, maybe 2 foot, but I'm going down the road about 40 miles an hour, and look over there, and there's a snake coming across over towards me.
That's not good.
And you don't know what you're going to do until you're in that situation.
Well, I hope to never be in that
pulled
situation.
over, your feet go up on the pedals, like you don't want to get your leg or whatever. And I pulled over, side of the road as fast as I could, and luckily there was no cars, and got out. And the snake come on out. I just stood there for a little while, and he come on out. So, but that wasn't a scary one.
Well, here's the thing now. If you want to hold through the break, we're good. But see, when they start playing that music, that means I got to go to a break. So everybody keep holding. And, we're going to hear the end of the snake story. And Super Talk 997 will be back.
Two o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast in 5 minutes. Knife attack in Germany update. Reports say police arrested a woman after 12 people were injured in a knife attack at a busy railway station in Hamburg. Police say 3 of the victims were in life-threatening condition. This is a 39-year-old woman arrested as the suspect. President Trump today at the White House.
Signing tremendous executive orders today that really will make us the real power in this industry.
Signing 5 executive orders related to nuclear energy and science.
It's time for nuclear, and we're going to do it very big.
White House officials saying today's actions will, quote, usher in the American nuclear renaissance. That's music to Governor Bill Lee's ears. Governor Lee pushing to make Tennessee a hub for nuclear energy, and the Tennessee Valley Authority is the first utility in the nation to apply for a permit to build the first modular nuclear reactor. Those are smaller. They can be built more easily, faster, cheaper than the traditional. TVA hopes to build this reactor along the Clinch River in Oak Ridge. They could start as soon as next year. A Carnival cruise ship has rescued 4 people and their dogs in the South Pacific. Here's Alex Stone.
The Carnival Splendor was on an 8-day cruise sailing in the South Pacific when the Maritime Rescue Coordination Center notified the ship of a catamaran putting out a distress call. The Carnival Splendor headed that way and 5 hours later got to 4 people and 3 dogs stranded on a disabled catamaran. The 2 couples and 3 dogs were given food, water, and medical help on the Carnival ship. On board, they were seen smiling after being rescued. Alex Stone, EBC News.
Money news on the heels of saying it's raising prices. Walmart announced it's cutting 1,500 corporate tech-related jobs as part of a restructuring plan. News of the job cuts followed an announcement last week that Walmart's raising prices to counter President Trump's tariffs. Entertainment news. 5-time Grammy Award winner Billy Joel has canceled all upcoming concerts. He's been diagnosed with a brain disorder. A statement posted to Joel's Instagram says the disorder is known as normal pressure hydrocephalus. It's excess fluid in the brain that leads to problems with hearing, vision, and balance. His doctor says he needs to stop performing during this recovery period. He's going to be going through some physical therapy, and he's expected to make a full recovery. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hey, kids. Chad's out. Dez is in. And it is Freakout Friday. Make no mistake about it. And we've had some good ones today. It's been kind of bleak and morbid, but we've had some good ones today. So we're going to give Forrest a couple minutes to finish his snake story, but we got some other folks holding. So real quick, Forrest, you said there was a scarier one.
Oh, yeah. 20 years go by, and I'm in a better vehicle now. And I get out and go up talk to this customer at his door, and I leave my door open in my truck. And Well, talk to him 10 minutes, come back, get in. I'm going down the road. You know, I just kind of sensed something down there. You know, when you get a sense or something. And it's about the scariest I think I've ever been. There was right below my feet, I'm going to say 4 to 6 foot snake, one of them orange, black, brown, the kind that looks real dangerous, but apparently it wasn't. But, make a long story short, I had to change my underwear when I got home.
See, they tell you, that one's not poisonous. Look, a 4-foot snake in my car, that's just danger, period.
But I got him out there, and I'm just, anybody out there that's had the same experience of having a snake in their car while they're going down the street knows how scary and how freaked out you are.
Absolutely.
Let me tell you that.
Forrest,
right now. And that happened to me for, I don't know,
twice.
Somebody's punished me twice.
Yeah, I just keep my car door closed. Forrest, thanks for calling. Thanks for sharing your snake stories. Thanks for holding. And we got a few more. I want to thank everybody for holding. So we got Jasper in College Grove. I think Jasper's been holding for a bit here. Jasper, what do you got for us?
I've been watching with my wife. We watch in the evenings a little bit on YouTube. There's this guy that reads the court documents from the Diddy trials.
That's freaky right there.
Yeah, the amount of people that have come out against him and just what they've seen, what they've how people have been blackmailed and all that stuff. It's very eye-opening to know that, and probably how deep it really goes in all the other areas of our country, and it just creeps me out.
I tell you what, what's probably not going to happen is I don't think they're going to Epstein this one. You know, the Epstein thing, man, I'm sorry, but when Cash and Bongino both came in and said, "Oh yeah, we've seen the file. He hung himself."
That was embarrassing.
With paper towels. With that, I'm sorry, but I think some things, and I love both of those guys, but I think.
But and I don't like to overthink things, but it's hard not to these days.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just the look on Bongino's face.
Yes.
And he looks so deflated, but it's just like, oh, and they may not have done anything, but somebody's out there just like, yeah, I know, I got this or whatever, and it makes it so, like, as an American citizen, deflating to know that we're never. I feel like we're like just keep kicking the ball a little bit farther away from us. Like, oh well, we got you again.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, that one. Bongino did not look comfortable, so I don't know if I trust it. But Diddy, on the other hand, as my mother used to say, no, they're going to end up putting him under the jail. I mean, I don't.
But I feel like he's such a pawn in that bigger scheme, and I feel like that bigger scheme is also part of the political game. I'm guessing they're all under the same umbrella of people that are just pulling the strings, and then you got Diddy, who, as a young man, was groomed by others and taught. I mean, this is, and then you get, it's just all very creepy. And then all those politicians are right there with them, just getting compromised in the same manner. Well, they were at
the parties. I mean, there were politicians at the parties.
Exactly.
Let's not be naive
and we're all just sitting here as sitting ducks, like just waiting for it all to fall apart. And we pray that it does. But
now I will say this: he's responsible for his choices.
I don't disagree. I'm not a Diddy. I trust me. I'm right there with you. You look at Jamie Foxx, and he said, "I came out, I talked. I didn't have to be silent. I could have been silent."
Yeah.
Wendy Williams, she fought it forever. I mean, they're trying. If you ever go on there, I mean, it's cool. They're just guy that just reads the court documents and these people's testimonies, and it's just. Wow. I mean, Kid Rock, I guess. I haven't listened to all of them, but there's just a lot of people that have come out and just.
Well, sounds interesting.
These are the people involved. This is what they've done.
Yeah. Well, I'll have to check that out. Sounds like it's, sounds like it's very interesting. Well, Jasper, thanks for the call. And hang in there. Keep the faith. Keep the faith.
Oh, I will, but let's keep fighting.
All right. Well, you have a good one.
You too, bye.
All right. All right. Well, let's see who we got here. Let's go to Darlene. I think we got Darlene in Pleasant View. And I hope the view actually is pleasant. But at any rate, Darlene, how you doing?
Hello. That's
Hey.
interesting because I just told the Lord, okay, if I'm not next, I'm going to hang up.
So you don't hang up. I believe, as a radio host, I believe that people end up in the lake of fire for hanging up. That's just not.
Well, it's because I had prayed before. I don't call in. I don't do that, and I normally don't get reception very well. Not lately, so I just kind of put it all in God's hands and said, if you want me to do this, I'm going to do it. Otherwise, because see, I probably want to chicken out, so I was looking for an excuse. But anyway, this is a combination freak out / don't freak out call. I went in the hospital when I was 49 just for a little test, simple little nothing test. And I died.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, and I kind of freaked out at the time because it wasn't fun. I was very aware of everything. I wasn't in pain, but I was blind. I was paralyzed. And according to the hospital, all of this was anaphylactic shock reaction to lidocaine.
Wow.
And I'll never know if that was really what it was or not. But anyway, the experience is what is interesting to me. I've always remembered the experience because I was blind. I couldn't move. I couldn't speak, but I could hear. And so I heard all kind of screaming and carrying on. And I heard some guy say, I'm going to do this. And I heard this very deep, knowledgeable voice say, you're not going to touch her, get out of here. So I assumed that was the doctor. And anyway.
Or it was Jesus.
The next thing, well, maybe so. But that's funny. Anyway, so the next thing I knew, I was out of my body. And I was watching everything.
Wow.
And that's what I found. This is my / don't freak out part. I have never felt so much peace in all my life. It was as if I had just stepped into, nothing I'm ever aware, have never been around that peaceful, wonderful, just pure peace. And it was kind of interesting to me because while everybody else was freaking out, I wasn't, and I was the person. The other thing I found so interesting was I was totally me. I mean, I felt no connection to that body down on that table, none.
Wow.
Because I was fully me. I was just as me as I could be, and mostly curious about what was next. I wasn't upset or anything. And I think that's what, most people fear death so much. Now, that's my personal experience, but the thing I didn't like, I had some experiences when I wasn't dead, seeing the light and things like this. So I would have expected to have an experience maybe, and I didn't. I woke up in another room totally, and I heard them say, respiration 0, she's turning blue and all this, so I had died. But anyway, I told the doctor, well, let's do the test, and he said, no, are you crazy? He said, look at you, and I was white as a sheet.
Wow.
And it concerned me a little bit that, some of the stories you hear, I went and I met Jesus and this and that, and I'm like, well, where's my story? But in doing research, they said when they put you in a coma, you don't remember. In the near-death experience books, they said you don't remember. So I'll never know if I had another experience or not. But it did make me not fear death. It's just like, well, there isn't.
Well.
There's death of the body, but the old expression, you just move. Just moved.
That's an awesome experience. And, you'll find out someday. When you see Jesus face to face, you'll find out. But thanks, Darlene, for holding, and thanks for sharing that story. And we're glad you're still with us.
I had things to do.
Well, yes, you do. That's why you're still here. You're not done yet. So, all right. Well, you have a great day, a great Memorial Day weekend, and God bless you.
Oh, thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. So Elvis has been holding in Nashville for a while. Elvis is still in the building. So let's see what Elvis said. Well, we're still waiting to take Elvis off hold. And I'm sure, the Elvis jokes have to abound. If your name is Elvis, there has to be... There has to be, along with that, the occupational habit of people telling Elvis jokes. Well, there we go. Now we got Elvis. Elvis, how's it going?
It's going well, Dez. How are you doing?
I'm doing extremely well, thank you.
Well, before Darlene called and stole my thunder, I was going to say I have the biggest freak out. I actually have two.
Jeez.
So I'm 4 years old. My brother, he's 9, and he's talking about how there's going to be a meteor shower, shooting stars and everything like that. And I'm like, what in the heck is a shooting star? Well, okay. So we go outside, and we're looking, and we're looking, and we're looking. And it looked like the moon fell out of the sky.
Wow.
And it was 6 feet in front of me. I almost got killed by the first meteor I've ever seen.
Wow, first and last, almost.
Yeah. So there's that one. And then the second one was a month ago when we had all the big storms, the tornadoes and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a mail carrier, and I'm down in Belle Meade. And in the span of about 5 minutes, I hear the tornado sirens. The sky gets dark. I get in my truck and wanting to pull out of there because it's all, Belle Meade is in the woods.
Mm-hmm.
And the vision went completely fogged. It had to have been at least an EF0 tornado.
Wow.
And trees are falling all around me. And then, bang, this thing, I don't know what it was, comes flying into my windshield and shatters it.
Jeez.
Yeah, and you can't see, and it wasn't just the rain. It was the whole thing. It had to have been a tornado, and that was the scariest moment of my life because I couldn't do anything.
Yeah, tornadoes do not yield. So I got to go into a break, but Elvis, thanks for hanging in there. Thanks for holding, and we're glad you survived the tornado. We still got Steven and Justin and Carla and David holding, so hang in there. We're going to take this break. We're going to get to you right after. WTN 99.7 Super Talk. Dez with you. We'll be right back.
All right, guys, I want to tell you about my friends over at Contours, which is incredible. So I've been going there, and look, a lot of us, we're not where we want to be. We got a little few inches around the waist. Things aren't looking as great as we'd like, and that's where Contours comes in. It's in Cool Springs, and they're help both men and women. And yes, I go there. My wife goes there. It's incredible. Their ultra slim body contouring guarantees you can lose 2 inches on that first treatment, and it's free. And it's incredible. It's non-invasive, doesn't hurt. It's awesome, so relaxing, and it's instant. I've gone through the process, and it works. I go there, so simple. You lay there, machine comes on, and you just relax. It's just, oh. So, they also do facials, they're revitalizing, and the red light therapy is incredible. It's going to tighten your skin, restore your natural glow. Remember, Contours for both men and women. Ladies are going to love this. Father's Day gives them around, too, as well. So what do? Go check them out. It's contoursllc.com. By the way, the red light therapy facials, Father's Day gift and everything. It's awesome. Call 615-236-9960. That's 615-236-9960 today, or visit contoursllc.com.
Road closed in Murfreesboro after someone was hit by a train. A woman arrested in a knife attack at a train station in Europe. President Trump threatening a 25% tariff on Apple, but Samsung, you might want to take note. Details at 2:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Yes, we're rolling. We are rolling with Freakout Friday. And aren't you glad you called? Aren't you glad you called? I'm looking at the numbers here and looking to see who I think has been holding the longest. I think we're going to talk to Justin in Nashville. Carla, David, Stephen, you guys keep hanging in there. We're going to get to you. Justin, we're going to put...
Yes, sir. How we doing, Dez?
I'm doing very well. How you doing?
I'm an old friend of yours. I hadn't seen you in a while.
Justin.
It's really good to hear your voice on the radio, man. It really is, man.
Well, I'm glad to be on the radio. So there you go.
I hope you'll just stay. I hope you stay a regular fixture on it because you are very wise and you give very good counsel and we all love you out here. I hope you know that.
Well, man, I appreciate it. And, send those emails and tell him Dez needs to have his own show. I mean, it might be at 3 a.m, but hey.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I missed your Freakout Friday show, and I did listen to that when you had it going a while back. But I've had a few times I've been freaked out in my life. But my story is I was in Kentucky coming back from a trip trying to get home, the family, and I'm in there paying for my gas at the cashier, and the cashier was right by the front window, and I look out the front window, and there is an 18-wheeler with a full load of hay on fire coming into the gas station, coming off the side of the road, coming in to the gas station, full throttle.
Wow.
And I'm sitting there, and I told the cashier, I said, you need to close down the pumps right now, sir. And I said, you need to do it right now. This guy is on his way here. And he didn't believe me, and he looked out, and he eventually went and shut down the pumps. And that doggone, he came all the way up to the gas pumps, and I exited, got in my car, and wanted to get as far away from that thing as I could.
Wow.
But that was a day that freaked me out, Des, because, here's a guy coming in with a full backload, on fire.
Wow.
To a gas station. I've had it happen all the time where a guy likes a cigarette, and he's pumping gas in one hand and a cigarette in the other. But we got a freaking 18-wheeler here, showing up. I couldn't believe it, Des.
Wow, that one's wild. You don't want flame and gasoline together. It's not a good thing. Well, man, thanks so much for calling in, and thanks for the words of encouragement. And I'm back in a couple days next week, so join us again.
I'll be listening, man. We'll have to hook up soon.
All right, definitely so, man. Definitely. Look forward to it. All right, we're going to try to get in, at least one more here. Let's go to Carla in Manchester. Not Manchester, England. I love Manchester, England, but Carla, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
Yes.
My problem is that nobody seems to care, and it bothers me extremely. It's like one of my things about how much the politicians are worth, and they don't make anything in their salaries, really.
Well,
Really,
they're
really,
making
really.
money. Don't be fooled. The
Oh, yeah,
salaries,
they're making money,
the
all right.
salaries are low,
Selling
but
secrets.
they're making money under the table and this
Yeah,
honorarium
that's
and
what I'm
that
talking about.
honorarium. So,
Yeah,
but
and it just bothers me. Nobody's really caring to look into that.
no, they're looking into it. You just understand, Doge, just because they're not announcing every move, they're finding everything. They're finding everything. So, what it comes down to is what kind of action is taken against people, because it's so widespread. 2/3 of Congress would have to go to jail if.
Well, I mean, if that's what it takes, and that's just to vote in new people, I'm all for it.
Well, and
if you're making that much money on your salary, something's fishy.
we have to do our job on our end and make sure that we vote in and vote out the right people. Do our job in vetting new candidates. Get involved in any movement to primary bad actors that have been in way too long. We got to do our part. But hey, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We're going to take a break, and we got a couple more holding. So hang in there. We're on the clubhouse turn. Hang in there. Super Talk. We'll be back.
.2:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast coming up in 5 minutes. Right now in Middle Tennessee, News 2 says police have closed a road in Murfreesboro after a pedestrian was struck by a train this afternoon. This is the CSX rail yard at Main Street and Overall Street. That's Railroad at Main Street and Overall Street. Officials said a pedestrian was hit by the train. The extent of their injuries not known at this time. Motorists being diverted. Authorities say they cannot say when that road will be reopened. Right now in Germany, reports say a 39-year-old woman's been arrested as a suspect in a knife attack at a railway station in Hamburg. 12 people injured. 3 have life-threatening injuries, according to reports. At the White House, President Trump threatening a 25% tariff on Apple. He wants the company to make iPhones in the U.S., but not just Apple.
It would be also Samsung and anybody that makes that product. Otherwise, it wouldn't be fair. So anybody that makes that product, and that'll start on, I guess, the end of June.
Trump answering reporters' questions after signing executive orders to boost nuclear energy production. The White House raising concerns about chronic illness in children, releasing a new report blaming ultra-processed foods, chemicals in the environment, sedentary behavior, and an over-reliance on digital devices. It also suggests childhood vaccines need to be studied further. FDA Commissioner Dr. Marty McCary speaking with ABC News.
We've got to look at everything. There can be no sacred cows. You can't say, well, you can't look at this one ingredient or chemical that is introduced in the food supply of children in the United States that does not exist in the food supply of other countries with lower rates of these chronic diseases. We've got to take an objective scientific approach.
The Make America Healthy Again report saying more than 40% of children in the U.S. have at least one chronic disease, such as obesity, diabetes, behavioral issues, and allergies. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Yes. Freakout Friday. There's still time. Hey, check it out. We're going to go to David and Smyrna here in a second, but, during the break, we had 2 or 3 people hang up. You got time, call back in because, we want to take as many of your calls as we can because this has been one of the best Freakout Fridays in a while. I mean, we've had people getting hit by buses. We've had people who died and had out-of-body experiences. We've had everything.
Attacked by snakes.
Attacked by snake. We've had everything today. So, don't miss out. Freak out. Call in. So, David in Smyrna. David's been hanging with us for a minute. We're going to see what David is up to. David, how you doing?
I'm good, man. How you doing?
I'm doing extremely well, thank you.
Well, good. So I wanted to vent my spleen about something. I like my guns, and I think I don't know if you know about what's going on with Sig Sauer and their Sig 320 handgun, but with them having uncommanded discharges in the holsters.
That's not good.
And enough people have been injured by. At first I thought that it's the holster. People are putting the wrong light in the wrong holster, and that's what's causing it to go off. But it seems as though the preponderance of evidence, it's a modular gun, so the part with the trigger fits in different grips and different slides, and it seems as though it's tolerance stacking. And Sig has come out and said there's absolutely no problems with these guns. And my issue is that us gun owners and gun companies, we have enough problems with the left and the media and trial lawyers trying to infringe on our Second Amendment rights without the country's largest firearms manufacturer having these issues with basically their flagship sidearm and saying that there's nothing wrong with it. Whereas if they had said, okay, hey, there's an issue with this thing, you guys send it in, we'll sort it out. And I think people would be upset, but it wouldn't be as bad as straight up denial.
Yeah, that's true.
And that upsets me. That really infuriates me.
Let me ask you this. Have you complained to the company in any way? Because that's clearly a marketing and PR fail right there.
Well, I was on the fence about buying a 320. If you'd asked me in December, would you buy a 320, I would say, yeah, I think it's all overhyped nonsense. But since then, there's just been more and more stuff that has come out that, do I think if I bought a 320 that it would go off? Probably not. But are there at least 8 other top of my head that I can think of that I could buy that don't have that problem, that I wouldn't be running that risk? Absolutely. And so, while I'm not a SIG owner, I sit from the sidelines and watch this, and I just think the whole way they've handled this has just been god awful.
Well, here's the thing. That's going to come back on them. SIG has a problem, and they need to fix their problem. Because if they don't, it's foolish if they don't, because it's going to come back on them. And I mean economically, it's going to come back on them.
Well, I know a lot of people have stopped buying SIG products. There's been a lot of police departments that have, that was their issue sidearm. They stopped, they no longer issue the 320. And that's the military's official issue sidearm.
Wow.
And, they need to iron this out. And like I said, it's frustrating because, not to repeat myself, but as gun owners and as gun companies, we got enough issues with people trying to shut us down without people being willfully ignorant and saying, no, there's no problem.
Well, here's the thing. They have everything to lose, nothing to gain with this sort of obstructionist response. So they're going to have to fix it, and being upset about it's not going to help. I'd complain, but they got to fix it, plain and simple. Well, thanks for sharing, David. And
thank you.
We'll see what happens. All right. I think we got Johnny in Dixon. Johnny in Dixon. Hey, Johnny, how you doing?
Man, I'm great. How are you? Good show.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
I'll be short and sweet so you can get somebody else in. I'm freaked out by heights. I don't mind roller coasters, airplanes, whatever, but it still freaks me out. And the thing that freaked me out the most, I was digging trees for my wife one time in the yard using an auger with a tractor, and I got too close to it, and it hit a rock and jumped at me and grabbed my clothes.
Oh, geez.
And ripped all my clothes off except for my underwear and my shoes.
Wow. I mean, it's funny, but it's not funny. Because it could have
was,
ripped off a limb.
Yeah, it grabbed my jacket arm. Actually, it did rip my underwear off. All I had on was my socks and my shoes. But it grabbed my jacket arm, a bolt that was really too long on the auger, and just started grabbing it, pulled me up against the PTO shaft on the tractor, and just wound everything up like a rubber band and just ripped it off in like a second.
Wow.
And I stood there, freaked out that I was still alive.
And it makes you just want to go back to just like using a shovel. I'm just going to use a shovel.
Yes, sir. Well, I had to dig about 50 holes. So, you know what's really freaking stupid about it is I was on the very last hole.
Oh, no. Isn't that the way it always is?
That's the way it goes, man. Yeah. Anyway, hey, thanks for taking my call, and get somebody else in.
Well, we got some lines open, folks, and we got some time. So here's the thing. If you invested time in being on hold, you've squandered your investment by hanging up. I mean, the time that you invested in hanging up, you could be on the phone sharing your freak out right this very moment. So, Belle, what is your favorite freak out that we've heard today?
I think the snake one.
That one was good.
Yeah, because that's just, I mean, it's one thing for it to happen once, but to look down and see there's a snake in your car for a second time, I'd start to look around and wonder who's planting snakes in my car.
And didn't you say it was like over a 20-year period or something crazy like that?
It could have been over a 2-day period. I'd still be like, who's putting snakes in my car?
Yeah, I'm not crazy about that. In general, I'm not a snake fan. One time I did have and I'll make this quick because we got a call coming in. This record company I used to work for, there was a studio that was owned by this producer that was housed, this is a popular thing in the area, in a house. And, we had a band, we had it locked out. We had a band working there for like 2 months. And I stopped by to, see how things were going. And as I'm walking back out to my car, I see something moving under theirs. And I look under there, and there is a massive snake wrapped around the drive shaft. Yeah, anyway, not good, creepy, not good. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go to Larry in Clarksville, my parents' hometown. Larry, how you doing?
Hey, Brother Dez. I've been better, and I'm sorry that mine's not a good freak out.
Well, that's all right. Don't apologize.
Well, my freak out was yesterday, and I had to make that awful decision to let my 14-year-old, 97-pound Greyhound go.
Oh, no. Oh, that's hard, man.
And it, I rescued him straight from the track.
Mm.
So the only time he had to run, the only time he ran, for the last 10 years was when he wanted to.
Right.
And it was such an amazing thing to watch him run.
Yeah.
Because he could make it from my back door to my back fence in about 4.5 seconds.
Jeez.
And hell, Dez, it took 2 seconds just to get them long legs running. But it was just it was a hell of a start to Memorial Day weekend.
Wow. Well, man, I tell you what, anybody who's ever, owned a dog, losing a dog, especially one that you've had for a long time. I mean, it's a deep hurt. So our
It is.
condolences and prayers are with you. And you know what? You know what to do though? Just go out there and get another pup. That's what you do.
Well, with my health, it's not. That's just. I've still got 2 more, but not greyhounds. But
right.
With my health, it wouldn't be fair to a dog. So
I understand. Well, I tell you what, we got to pop a couple more calls in here before we wrap up the day, and enjoy the dogs you have. Enjoy the ones you have. All right, so let's do this. Let's go to Barbara in Nashville.
This is Barbara. Mine is not nearly as freakish as some of the ones I've heard today.
Yeah, we've had some crazy ones today.
I am petrified of snakes.
Mm.
I think if one got on me, I would die. It didn't matter what it was. I have been known to stand for 35 minutes waiting for a little tiny green snake to move off the path that I was in.
Wow.
To keep it from. And we have had multiple snakes in our houses from time to time. My husband used to say he thought I attracted them as much as I was afraid of them.
Well, and that does happen. The thing we greatly fear comes upon us. So.
I just, one fell into the house off of a screen door one morning when I opened the door. And I ran and jumped in the bed, which was at the other end of the house.
Well, I tell you what,
there's a snake.
One of the things a lot of people do is face their fear. So you need to find someone with a pet snake, and you need to just need to go. Because I tell you what, my 11-year-old loves snakes because he had an opportunity. Yeah. So I tell you what, thanks for calling.
I have a great grandson that does.
Well, go hang with him.
Me too.
Go hang with him and get to know that snake.
But I don't think I could. But anyway,
I think
the lady that called that had a birthday.
Yep.
I had a birthday yesterday,
happy
and
birthday.
I turned 84.
Wow.
So,
Congratulations.
And my son's birthday was the day before. So my doctor keeps telling me I'll live to be a ripe old age, and I don't know what that's going to be. But
well,
anyway.
you're doing good. Well, thanks for calling. You're doing good.
Sure.
It's this weird thing where, like, right at the end, all of a sudden everybody's calling. But thanks for calling. So we're going to take we got to take a break now. We're going to take a break, and we're going to come back. And we're going to get in the rest of what we got. So keep holding. It's Dez on Super Talk 99.7 WTN going into the Memorial Day weekend. We'll be back in a minute.
Story about his son learning guitar. I don't think it's as much Freakout Friday, but he's got a cute story about his son learning guitar and learning to play the riff from Little Red Corvette.
Oh, well, we got to have All right, we're down to the finish line. Going to get David in Murfreesboro in and see if we can, we got a couple holdings, see if we can get everybody in. David, you are going to be up next in mere seconds. There we go. David, how you doing?
I'm okay, and yourself?
I'm doing well. So what do you have for us?
Well, the first thing is you had the gentleman call about the tractor and trailer come in on fire.
That's crazy.
Here's the freak out part. He's sitting on 200 gallons of diesel.
Whew.
So if he was on fire, he was probably panicking and probably wasn't using his head. Obviously, pulling into a gas station was a bad idea.
Yeah.
And then the next thing, a 320 is a wonderful sidearm. I've got one. I bought one here a couple of months ago, and I love it. And I'll go away and leave you alone.
Well, I tell you what, just be careful with that holster. That's all I got to say. All right, so we have Gary in Springfield. Gary, how you doing?
I'm doing fine, sir. Thanks for having me. Real quick, when I was a battalion motor officer way back when, decades ago, I'm 72 now, infantry battalion out at Fort Carson, Colorado. We were in the field, and this freakout story's got a snake in it, and I'm part of the freakout. And what happened was I was inspecting, it was at 12 midnight, checking the tactical, we were in a tactical field problem, where you're fighting another unit and all this with miles, laser, and, it's bang, bang and all. So I'm checking the perimeter to see if it's secure. Then I'm going to go to the maintenance headquarters, and I find a machine gun position, and 2 soldiers in there were asleep. Me and my Jeep driver coming by. So I get out, and I decide I'm just going to throw a grenade simulator in there. It's a little TNT grenade simulator. Threw it. It landed near them. Boom goes off, and them 2 come shooting out of the foxhole. And I just drove off. They'd barely see me. I finally what I was doing, get into the maintenance tent, and the master sergeant goes, Captain Lima, are we getting probed? And I said, heck no. Found the 2 machine gunners down there. They were asleep. He says, you didn't throw a grenade in there. I said, I sure did. He says, by golly, 1 hour ago, an 8-foot rat snake crawled in there with them and got wrapped on one of the soldiers, and they both jumped out. And they were just, nerves were shot. And then you come along an hour later and throw a grenade in them. And the grenade simulator, of course, they don't get hurt because it was near them. And he said, well, they're never going to get any sleep tonight, even when they get relieved. And I said, well, I guess that snake and I had the same plan. They're not supposed to be asleep. That's a true story.
Wow. Well, they should have been awake. That was on them. Well, that's a great story. And
true story.
And we appreciate the call. And there's like a snake theme today. I don't know what the deal is, but all right. Well, this has been.
I could do without that theme.
Yeah.
Especially when it's down on my floorboard.
I'm not a snake fan, but that's just me. A lot of people love snakes.
I was curious if either of them were poisonous too.
Well, he said that the orange one, after the fact, he had it checked out, and he said it looked like it should be, but it wasn't. But I'm not sticking around to find it.
Yeah, I mean, who wants to just reach down, grab it, and find out you shouldn't have?
Yeah, poisonous or not. That and massive spiders. I'm not up for that either. So, but at any rate, we ended up having a good Freakout Friday. It took a while to get it going. But, man, these were some of the most interesting stories I've heard. And not all were freakouts. Some of them just freaked me out. I think my favorite, though, was getting hit by a bus. A school teacher getting hit by a bus and, and getting gravely injured. That was just really weird. But at any rate, it's been great. I so enjoy this, enjoy being in this chair. Looking forward to next week, Tuesday, Thursday. I'm in 9 to 3, and hope you'll get up and join us. But until then, enjoy your long weekend. And Dez Dickerson out.
3 o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Drivers, we've got an injury